When will we know who won the presidential race? If past is prologue, we may be waiting for a while. 4 years ago, election night turned into a week with only one of the current 7 battleground states, Arizona, actually called on election night. Joe Biden wasn't declared the winner until that Saturday when Pennsylvania was called. Remember, back in 2000, the date was December 12th. December 12th. But there's also a chance a winner could be declared pretty quickly. 2 of my NBC News colleagues who understand all the possibilities well join me. Mark Murray, NBC News senior political editor, and John Lipinski, NBC News director of elections, who joins us from the decision desk. Good to see you both. So, John, Pennsylvania, as we said, put Biden over the top 4 days after Election Day. And there were other states, though, that were called later. Nevada, North Carolina, Georgia wasn't called until 15 days after Election Day. I don't know. Are the days of projecting a winner on election night over?
I think it sort of depends. I mean, I actually think that 2020 might have been an anomaly. And so when we actually look at some of the changes that have happened, I mean, we were conducting an election during a pandemic. And so in places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and North Carolina, I'm expecting, because of more people, new machines, and just not having to do the election, in a pandemic, that we can get the results quicker. So I'd say, Chris, that it's kind of 50-50 with those 5 states, whether we could actually call them, say, on Wednesday, or they may take days. And what's going to be important there is whether the races are essential ties. Like in places like Georgia, and also in Arizona, I call those races ties. And with ties, it takes days.
Yeah, and Mark, as John points out, some states have changed how and when they're counting since 2020. So tell us what you're going to be watching as the returns start to come in.
Well, John has the big job of counting all the ballots for our decision desk and crunching the numbers, and I'm going to be the consumer of their data. And Chris, what I'm going to be looking for, obviously, are a lot of the early counting vote states on the East Coast. Places like Florida, and of course, Florida was a race that Donald Trump ended up winning by 3 percentage points in 2020, but they count very, very fast. And while it might not give us an indication of who's going to win, we'll be able to see just how strong or weak Donald Trump is running in a state that he ended up winning by 3 percentage points in 2020. North Carolina also counts very quickly. Virginia is another state that counts very quickly, and while that should be in the Democratic lean column, we're just going to be able to see Harris's strength or weakness. And so I think we're going to get a lot of clues very early, but I think John's exactly right. It is possible that we might take 24 hours or even longer before we count through all of those states, particularly the ones in the Great Lakes region.
John, this isn't your area of expertise, but could potentially legal challenges hold things up? And ultimately, without getting too much into the technical data, how do you folks decide what says to you, yeah, we're okay, we can call this state, and then the big enchilada, right, the election?
Well, I mean, I'll take the second question first. And, at NBC, and for the decision desk, before we put in a check mark, we have to be absolutely certain that the winner is the winner, that the second place candidate cannot catch. And so we're, Chris, looking at dozens of models. We'll probably, our models will run probably 2 million times for computations on election night. So it's a crazy amount of data that we're looking at. And we're looking at, there's basically a dozen of us that are looking at these results, and we all have to convince ourselves, not that we're right, but that we're not wrong, that there can be absolutely sort of no path for the second place candidate to catch. That's when we actually put the check mark. In terms of the certification process, I think that's going to be something that everybody's going to look at. I mean, no one knows what will happen. We obviously have had a few problems sort of in the past election where some county officials, potentially were, thinking that maybe that they wouldn't certify. In a couple instances, they actually didn't. So NBC is ready for whatever happens to sort of assess and analyze that in real time.
Mark Murray, John Lipinski, 2 of the best in the business. Thank you both very much.